Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. With all the mess with the Ravens and the Orioles and pennant races and summer and vacation, and I do see your pictures from secrets down in Ocean City every once in a while. It is summertime, and it is a reading season, and for those of you who know, I am the last American that still reads books. I mean, even the President of the United States famously doesn't read books or write them. The Arena is a new book that has come to my desk. I'm going to hold it up right here, and anything that has arena or stadium or travel nerds talking about Americana, I tend to like that sort of thing. So I think I'm going to like this next guest. He makes his maiden voyage here on WNST as an author out of New York. He is a Yankees fan, which means he sucks, and I'm not going to hold it against him. He is a freelance writer, editor, and Ivy groomer, and the book is The Arena. And we welcome Rafi Cohen on to the program from Brooklyn today. Happy summer to you, man. I love having authors on, bro. So anybody writing a book, and it's not like about any specific topic. This is sort of an amalgamation of an idea and a concept, and I'm flattered to have you on the program today. Let's talk about authoring and Americana and sports, Rafi. Good day to you.
Oh, good day to you, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Well, give me the background on this, the Arena. Inside the tailgating, which I've done, ticket scalping, which I've done and had done unto me, mascot racing. I've never raced a mascot, but I did race a cheerleader once. And I've always wanted to be like a sausage in Milwaukee, and I probably could have been had I asked to be on the tour, but I didn't. Dubiously funded, I have been, and possibly haunted monuments of American sport. I've been to a couple of Hall of Fame, so give me the lowdown on this thing here, man. This is a thick little topic you've taken on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, really, I mean, so much of the premise of the book is in that long-winded subtitle right there. Because, the idea here is, it was from the beginning to sort of take a deep dive into stadiums, looking at everything but the game itself. And why that was important, why that was interesting to me was, like you, like all your listeners and viewers, I'm sure, I've always been a sports fan, and I love going to games. I love going to home games. I love going to away games, whatever. But it was never just the games that excited me. It was everything else about the experience that's really stuck with me through the years. From the sidewalk street merchants to the crush of the crowd getting into the stadium to the smells and the
scorecards, right? I mean, you get all that out there, right?
All of it. Even looking at other fans in the stands and watching them high five or punch one another in the face, as the case may unfortunately be every now and then, to security dragging them out and wondering where they're going. All that stuff was just so curious to me. So I figured, I'm going to spend a year on the road, and I'm going to travel around the country, and I'm going to take a look at kind of all of these underexplored areas of the American Stadium and just see what turned up. And so this book is kind of the result. It is the result. It's as I put it in the preface, it's like the composite picture of what it means to be a stadium in 2015, 16, 17.
What it means is usually we, the people, funded it. I think there are probably very, very few stadia that I have ever walked into that a dude or a corporation built that did not involve the government in some, not even small way, massive way. Even if it's Jerry Jones paying for building, the Jerry World, there's infrastructure, there's government support. I mean, all of this, whether we like it or not, or whether we root for it or not, whether I'm in a stadium in France seeing U2, or whether it was a World Cup game, even abroad, these things are funded by your tax dollars, almost period, point effing blank, right?
Absolutely. That's 100% right. And, that's why I made sure to get dubiously funded into the subtitle, because if we're going to talk about American stadiums, modern American stadiums, we need to sort of acknowledge that fact. We need to understand what our role as taxpayers is in sort of building these structures, these new cathedrals to secular worship. Basically, I mean, I spent in one of my chapters, I looked specifically at new stadiums. And in fact, one of the, I dive deep into Barclays Center, and I dive deep into AT&T Stadium.
Barclays Center, man, that great hockey arena, that venerable, right?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you've seen a game there, but it is atrocious.
No, I mean, I saw Springsteen there last year, and not only did he do Purple Rain, but I captured a selfie with Chris Christie. It involved about 8% of him and 100% of me, but nothing like seeing Chris Christie dance to Born to Run, bro, with the lights on. I mean, it's something. I mean, that alone.
That's worth the cost of admission, absolutely.
That alone, and I did see the close-up of his crotch later on as well that was brought into light, sadly, such as America. But
that you can't unsee.
You'll never unsee that. I did wonder what hockey would look like, and I've seen the pictures in the setup, and I know the Caps have played up there a bunch, and I also know what hockey looks like at the Nassau Memorial Veterans Coliseum out in Hampstead too, so I'm familiar with that. But all of these facilities, why did New York need another arena? They have the greatest arena in the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, that brings us to another issue, which is at what point do we reach oversaturation with these arenas? And actually, I mean, the New York market could stand to have one more, when it got Barclays Center. There was enough sort of shows and demand to go around because, the issue is at what point, when we reach that oversaturation, do venue operators start undercutting one another in terms of what they're offering and asking to concerts and other road shows, that it starts to be a losing proposition. And then we as the taxpayers don't get any return on our investment. Not that we're getting any anyway.
Well, look, man, I'm in Baltimore, right? So, like, David Modell, God rest his soul, was my dear friend. He and I would get on the radio and literally post-game scream at each other about the stadium, and it should have been a dome here, and I'll still say that, right? Because we don't use it for anything else. I mean, Metallica comes in once a year, and Beyonce comes, shakes her ass once a year, and U2 shows up every 5 years. Springsteen's never played there. Once in a while they'll get a little Lollapalooza festival thing going on. But by and large, you build these joints, and, I remember when Angelos threw Van Halen and Jimmy Buffett out of the baseball stadium down here. That baseball stadium has been used for two things, baseball and the Pope once. And it literally, so the multi-use part of that, when I go to places like Indianapolis and I see the Superdome in New Orleans and I see at least what the NFL's thinking they're going to do in Inglewood, which is really like use the facility, I think it becomes a lot better used 35 times a year than 12, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, and football stadiums in particular are notoriously difficult to use, not just because the space is so unwieldy, but also how many events can you really attract 60 to 80,000 people for? It's just not, there just aren't that many acts out there. That's not the way that the music business is going either. You have your Beyoncés and your Bruce Springsteens and Taylor Swift, but that's, it's a short list. The interesting thing, in terms of all this public financing stuff that I learned, sort of one takeaway for me, I interviewed a lot of sports economists over the course of my research, and basically all the evidence suggests that, as we have been saying, is that there is no economic benefit for the public.
It's a lie. It's a lie.
Anytime you hear it, just blank that out. Forget that.
I hear the same thing with the Super Bowl every year, what it's going to do to the Jacksonville economy. You know what it's going to do? People are going to show up on Thursday night. They're going to be gone Monday morning, and they'll leave a little bit of money behind. But whatever you're saying is a lie. I've learned that.
But there's also a difference between economic activity and actually making an economic, a substantive economic difference. Because activity can just be shifted around within regions.
If the Orioles left town, people would spend money on movies or something, period. They would.
Exactly,
yeah.
Right. That's what we call substitution effect. If you don't go to the stadium that night, you're probably going out to dinner or going to see a movie. So you're not spending the money there. So that means you're just shifting your recreation dollars somewhere else. All that being said, however, that doesn't mean that there's no value to a stadium. It doesn't mean that there isn't things like quality of life, things like civic pride. But we should be talking about stadiums in those terms, and then citizens and voters and taxpayers should be having honest conversations in terms of, is this what we want to spend our money on, knowing that we're not going to get an economic benefit from it. We might get some sort of other emotional benefits from it, but not an economic benefit. And so I don't know that we're yet having that honest conversation.
Well, it's the same thing as eating a $10 steak and eating a $30 steak. I mean, you walk away from both meals full. It's just, the $30 steak made you feel better. At least you hope it made you feel $20 better, right? Rafi Cohen joins a series of freelance writer, editor, and Ivy groomer in Brooklyn, and was formerly the deputy editor at the New York Observer. He's written for a whole bunch of places, GQ, Wall Street Journal, Rolling Stone. The book is The Arena, Inside the Tailgating, Ticket Scalping, Mascot Racing, Dubiously Funded, and Possibly Haunted Monuments of American Sport. I am holding the book up on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube. So, you used a great word here, and anytime I bring an author on, because I have not read all 390 pages of this, but I, sort of conceptually get where you're going, and I think if you love this sort of background, which I do, I like to learn when I read, and I like facts. I'm not a big fiction guy. I don't know the last time I read a fiction book after Catcher in the Rye, and I didn't read any Harlequins either, or even any Nancy Drew Hardy Boys when I was a kid, but you said takeaways, right? Like, what are the takeaways? I mean, what possessed you to want to write this book, and what were you trying to prove that you didn't already know when you sat down to write the thing?
Right, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you one thing off the top, which is, if I'm being completely honest with you, I kind of think this whole project was just an elaborate excuse for me to get to shoot a T-shirt cannon, because that's kind of always been a lifelong goal of mine.
Where did you do that, by the way, and do you have video of it?
Oh, man, I wish I had video of it. I think I've got some photos of me holding up the T-shirt cannon, and that's an experience I wish everyone
Were
could
you
have.
next to a mascot doing it, or no? Or next to, like, a good-looking girl?
Yeah, I think I ran out there with the cheerleaders. It was during the middle of a Rutgers men's basketball game.
So it was packed, and they were losing, let me guess, 34-16 midway through the first.
Yeah. There was actually a decent crowd. I believe it was I think it was their homecoming game. I can't remember. But there was a decent crowd, and
Who do they play for homecoming? Like Troy State? What do they play?
I think it was Penn. They played Penn State, so maybe it wasn't homecoming. If they took on Penn State, that's a formidable rival.
Hey, dude, I shouldn't be joking here at Maryland, but we did just build this big, Cole Fieldhouse thing that they opened this week, and they're gonna give the old college try to Michigan and Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Basketball, though, we don't suck though. So basketball at Rutgers, I've seen that act, dude. That's That's something there.
They're working.
Did anybody ever claim the T-shirt when you shot it up? Was there anybody there to catch it? That's what I'm asking.
Come on, Nestor. You know that when you are holding a T-shirt gun or offering a free T-shirt to a crowd, there's nothing that gets people going like that. You could be in
in Rutgers.
We could be in you could be in the business setting in a conference room in the middle of corporate America, and everyone would rip off their ties and throw their hands up and trying to get that oversized T-shirt that they'll never wear in their life. That's one of the two truths of fans, from what I've been told, is that fans go crazy over two things, and that's free stuff and seeing themselves on the Jumbotron.
On my tour, I did 30 ballparks, 30 days. The last thing I was trying to do, and you can appreciate this, is take things, right? Because I had very limited laundry, very limited in the summer in July, hot, clean underwear. I sweat through 3 shirts a night in some places like Cincinnati. And I was in Texas, and I hate Texas. Anybody will tell you that. And Texas hates me. And the pretty girls at the Texas Rangers game and the big moose they have there gave me a Texas T-shirt. Dude, it's a XXX. It comes down to my knees, but I took the damn thing. Even though it had a popcorn ad on the back, and I think I wore it to bed, a dozen times and wore it out. But I'm here. But who doesn't need a red "It's Our Time" shirt at a Rutgers basketball game on a cold winter's night, right?
I certainly did. I brought one home. Well, and and to go back to your question about takeaways, within each, I break down the book into 11 different chapters, and each chapter sort of looks at a different area or sort of segment of stadium life, so that in some ways, you could read this book in order, you could read it out of order. Every single area I sort of do its own deep dive into. But all that being said, because each one sort of has their own, smaller takeaways. But I'll tell you that from a year of travel on the road, I had 2 sort of main overarching takeaways in addition to the economics one. One of them, and this one I'm sure you can relate to, is when you're going to games, pee every chance you can get. that is a hard lesson learned, and once you learn it, you don't forget it.
I learned that at concerts. I mean, more so at concerts, like in stadiums and stuff. You got to pee at a U2 show. You got to pick your Springsteen show. You don't want to be peeing when he breaks out Valentine's Day for the first time since 1987. You don't want that to happen.
That's right. Mm-hmm. You want an empty bladder at all times. So the closer you can keep yourself on empty, the better. And then the other one is just frankly that, the best way to watch a game, because over the course of this experience, I watch games from the owner's box. I watch games from luxury suites. I watch games from the upper decks, from standing room. I watch games on the field. I watch games with the mascot. I watch games with the grounds crew. I watch games every which way you can imagine. And the best way to watch a game is not any of those things. I mean, it could be any of them, but it's not any one in particular. The best way to watch a game is with someone who cares about the game. It's with a fan, because sports is all about, having passion, being invested. That's why we do this. It's because we care. When you watch a game with someone who cares, that's the only thing that matters.
Best story is, back in the 90s, I dated this beautiful Swedish girl. I met her on a vacation. She lived in New York. She was from Sweden. She was beautiful. She knew nothing about baseball. I'm in New York. I've got tickets during Red Sox-Yankees. We're talking like 01, Clemens, Pedro, the whole deal, right? And the Red Sox hadn't won anything, and the curse of the Bambino, all of that stuff. I took her to Yankee Stadium for a key Friday night, summer, August, September, pennant, and we're at Yankee Stadium, and I'm trying to explain baseball, Red Sox-Yankees baseball, to a Swedish girl. It was really, really difficult, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been far better. I took her to a hockey game once. She understood everything. That was a far better, experience for us than for me to say. Just baseball's so weird, too, right? Like, to a foreigner, like, the guy that saved my wife's life is German, right? So he's soccer, basketball. He's a Nowitzki fan. He loves American football, strangely enough, right? Like, we had Goodell in here this week talking about that, and we're going to be going over to Wembley Stadium in a couple of weeks and play a game. But he's trying to get baseball. Dude, I'm almost 50 years old, right? Not proudly, but I do look 32, and I do get carded once in a while. I got to be honest, I don't think I could ever learn cricket. You know what I mean? Rugby, maybe, but people have tried to teach me cricket, and I've been places where cricket's going on. I just don't get it. And I think baseball is one of those things, too, that if you go to a baseball game with somebody that doesn't like or know baseball, I guess it's a beer drinking experience, and it's outdoor and it's summer, but there's nothing worse to me to being at a game that you care about and trying to explain like what a ball is and what a strike is, because like a strike to someone from Sweden is a punch. A ball is like a noun, not a verb. You know what I mean? Or, so yeah. I don't know. I mean, if people want to learn and you want to teach them, it's one thing, but not at the game. That's not a good place to teach people, I think.
Right. Well, then you're pulling yourself out of the experience of being there, and that's the exact opposite. That's the exact opposite of what you're going for.
Yeah, well, man, dude, good luck with the book, right? I mean, the arena inside the tailgating, ticket scalping, mascot racing, dubiously funded and possibly haunted monuments of American sport. And one last thing for you. I was over in London 2 weeks ago sort of scouting for our trip. We're taking a bunch of folks over there on a road trip. And, I was thinking about, like, Sunday, game day, whatever. I'm thinking everyone's going to want to get in the stadium to see what a European stadium looks like if they've never been there before. And they're going to be shocked that it's so much less skybox tailgating driven than American sport, which has become, quite frankly, a little bit about the opera and who you are and who you know, where your seats are and what club level you're on and what wine you're drinking and what $20 sandwich you're eating. In Europe, it's still like, you go to Germany, beers are still $3, man.
Yeah.
Different deal.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is opening later this month in Atlanta, because they're doing an experiment with street level pricing for their food. I mean, certainly not street level pricing for the tickets themselves or the personal seat licenses. But once you're in the game, you'll be able to get $5 beer and $2 hot dogs. And it'll be interesting to see if that catches on.
I always think it's an amazing move where, like, a guy like you or me, if I came up to Brooklyn and we went to have a beer this afternoon and we went somewhere, anywhere, pick the bar of your choice, pick someplace sexy, the beer might be $7 or $8, you pick someplace down, it might be $3, $4, happy hour, whatever. But it's incredible to me, the lines that people will form anywhere and everywhere. I mean, one time I went to Toronto when our money wasn't good to see the Rolling Stones about 5 years ago, and I remembered paying something like $17.50 American for like a beer. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And I was how effing thirsty am I right this moment to be doing this? You know what I mean? At what point would I be on a plane, a train, an automobile? What beach would I be on? Would I be sitting across a piano with Christy Brinkley in 1984 and be willing to pay this sort of money to share a beer with Christy? It really is amazing how much people are willing to pay for beer. And the other thing was movie theaters. Oh, that tub of popcorn's $12.50 for 28 cents a popcorn, and you're willing to pay it. It's almost like a suspension of belief of your credit card or wallet, and it's even worse when you don't pull out American money. If I had to pull out 17 $1 bills and hand that over for an 18-ounce beer, I don't think I would do that. But when it's just plastic, you just swipe that MFer, don't you?
Yeah. Well, it's weird. Especially, it's funny that you said movie theaters, right? Because I think for stadiums and for movie theaters, think of a beer at a stadium and popcorn at the movies, it just feels like part of the experience, like something you're supposed to do. It's sort of like your identity as a stadium goer, as a movie goer, like you almost need it, to sort of validate the fact that you're there. But it's true, those prices are outrageous, and I would much rather pay $5 at the new Falcon Stadium than I would $17 at some Canadian concert.
Can I indulge you in my fun story from 2 weeks ago? I'm in Paris. My wife's battle cancer. She did not feel like going on the last night of our trip to see U2 in Paris at the Stade de France, which is 120,000 seats, crazy, right? So I went alone, and I did not drink much before the show. I had a beer or two on the walk in, and I'm not by nature at this age, a guy that's going to overindulge, right? But I got on the field, and they sold beer there in these special U2 commemorative cups. And they were 16 ounces, right? Yeah. And it was $8 with the regular cup, €10, which is, add 15%. So it's $11 for the beer with the cup. And then it's $8 for refills. But here's the key, bro, and this really is the key. I came home at 1:30, maybe 2 a.m. on the train in Paris alone. I slithered into my hotel room. My wife was in bed. We were leaving in the morning to fly home. And I was piss drunk as a skunk. I have not admitted this on the air, even on the internet. And I crawled into bed and I said to my wife, I'm hammered. I got to be honest with you. I drank too much. And she said, what's wrong with you? How did that happen? I've been with you for a million concerts all over the world. You never get hammered. Is this me leaving you alone? I said, you don't understand. I was on the field. I had a U2 cup, and they kept bringing me the beer. Yeah. The guy had the beer on the cooler thing on his back, and it was like the keg came to me. And I had more euros I had cash in my pocket that I needed to get rid of. I had 75 euro left. I think I filled the cup 4 or 5 times during the show, which doesn't seem like a lot, but the beer comes to you, and they're playing Bad, and then they're playing Pride, and next thing you know, they're into the Joshua Tree, and I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and I'm on the third one, and then they're going into Exit, and I'm having a fourth, and I'm like, well, Mysterious Way, just Beautiful Day, and here comes one, and in Europe they don't stop the beer. There's no 2-minute warning, there's no halftime. And, it is amazing when the beer comes to you in a stadium and it's €8 and it feels like Monopoly money. I spent, $60, $70 in American money on beer, and my head hurt at least till I got to Iceland, really, literally.
Did you stop over in Iceland? Did you have a stay there also?
They
got
did.
Good beer there.
They offered me beer on the plane, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think I'll have the water.
Hair of the dog, man.
No. The book is The Arena Inside the Tailgating, Ticket Scalping, Mascot Racing, Dubiously Funded, and Possibly Haunted Monument. What's the Possibly Haunted Monument? I want to ask you about that, Rafi.
All right. Well, So but that really speaks to a few different things. I mean, I'll try to do it quick for you, but when we think about old stadiums, we think about Lambeau or Wrigley or Fenway. I mean, we think about ghosts, right? We think about the ghosts of old players sort of haunting the hallways and the concourses. We think about also sort of our own lineages there. Like if we went there with our fathers or grandfathers or great grandfathers, there's history. So there's kind of that sort of spirit world.
Well, sometimes they pick it up moving across the street. I mean, we moved home plate from 33rd Street to Camden Yards. You know what I mean? Physically, right. There was a limo that drove it with a helicopter. I'm not making this up, bro. This is Baltimore, 1991, right? That's how I'm crying like a baby. Everyone in the audience crying like a baby. They're moving home plate from one place to another. That's how crazy this thing is, the hallowed grounds of these monuments, right?
Oh, yeah. When you can take that as part of the soul. You don't want to lose the soul. And when you have a soul, you can have a spirit world. But what's funny is that also in my last chapter where I explored kind of like the life after sports, like what happens to these places when we move on, is I got a tour, a private tour of the present day Silverdome, which, as you know, is completely derelict and basically abandoned.
What is it? Is there some structure there? I mean, I thought it probably would have been like
They're talking about demolition, but it's still there for now. It's just, you can see pictures of it. Folks have, some photographers have snuck in and taken photos of it. There was also a very cool BMX video that they shot there for Red Bull a couple years ago, and he just used it like a skate park. All the like torn up concrete and the stadium carcass is
like parkour or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool, cool. But I got a tour there, and so they basically have security guards, and they have a grounds manager, and the grounds manager showed me around. But, we were in there for a couple hours, just sort of going up and down, looking in the old locker rooms, going, walking on the field, jumping all over the place, going to the upper deck. And at one point, he sort of confides to me, sort of bashfully, that, a lot of them believe that they're actually ghosts in the Silverdome. And they don't say that in the way that we're talking about them before.
The ghost of Billy Sims' ankle? Is that,
Right, yeah. Of Barry Sanders' potential.
The ghost of horrific quarterbacking and bad football teams.
But they actually believe real ghosts are in there. And they told me a story of the haunting. And they brought me up to the suite where they believe the ghosts resided. And so that's also part of it. When we leave these big empty spaces alone, in the middle of America, you never know where the imagination is going to take you. And so for some of us, we believe that these places are in fact haunted.
Did you ever go to the Pontiac Silverdome in its prime?
No, I did not.
I attended a preseason Houston Oilers, because I was an Oiler fan. So my buddies and I all drove out to Detroit to see Tiger Stadium. I think we saw the Orioles play. We were on our way to Toronto. We drove through Detroit from Baltimore. Do the math on that. You'll figure that out. But I went out to the Pontiac Silverdome. The one thing I remember about that, and first off, it was a preseason game. There was no one there. I had a press pass, and it was, I got to be in the Oilers locker room after the game, and I did a bunch of bumpers for my radio show. It's back in the dawn of my career. But the one thing interesting about the Pontiac Silverdome and the Minneapolis Metrodome, where I saw two football games. I saw the Super Bowl there, the Bills-Redskins. The interesting thing about those domes is they were pressurized, and when you left the dome, you got pushed out the door. The air, literally, I can't explain. It was kind of like a revolving door, like a Macy's, where Christmas time, where you go out into the cold and you feel the air push you out, but you literally, the air shoved you out of the building when you left. That's what I remember about the Pontiac Silverdome.
That's right. I heard lots of stories about that. I believe they have warning signs on the doors.
They did.
To let you know.
They did.
Yeah.
Be careful, because you could stumble. I mean, literally. It was literally like a shove in the back when you left the building. He is Rafi Cohen. The book is The Arena, Inside the Tailgating, Ticket Scalping, Mascot Racing, Dubiously Funded, and Possibly Haunted Monuments of American Sport. Rafi, did we cover everything?
Well, we couldn't possibly have covered everything, but this has been a great talk.
Hey, man, I appreciate the time. Tell everybody where to find you and what you do when you're not writing books about the arena and traveling around doing really cool crap, by the way. I hope you have video of all of this, by the way. It would have made for interesting Instagram work.
Yeah, I've got some videos in my personal library, and maybe I'll start putting some of those on my Twitter.
Why wouldn't you? It'll promote the book. Promote.
So yeah, I'm on Twitter at Rafi_Kohan. That's Kohan. And I'm always looking for new projects, and I've got a few things cooking, and just now working to promote the book and talking to good folks like yourself.
Hey, man, I appreciate the time.
Having a great time doing it.
It was great to have you on, and I'm looking forward to piecemealing through this thing. I like a book of short stories where you can go into Chapter 8 and just dig in on how something got done. Hey, I appreciate the time. Thanks for being a great guest.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thanks for allowing me to tell my I got drunk in Paris with U2 story, but it's true, and I need to admit some of these things, especially in a world where I don't take phone calls. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device with more fun stories and tales and chats and interesting people who write books. Our morning newspaper ships to your email inbox at 7 a.m. each and every morning digitally. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at planetfitness.com. It's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, all the usual suspects. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.